How you doing? I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today I got a couple stories on deck. And if you have a story you want to send it into writemac.com. If you want to book a live coaching session with myself, fully unpack your breakup, get to the bottom of things, get some clarity, just try to move forward, right? Go to writemac.com. So today I have a interesting couple of stories to share that were sent in recently. But I'd really like to unpack really quick. There was just a comment made on my channel. It just came in a little while ago. It says, if my boyfriend used to brag about bringing in thousands of dollars with his businesses with an S, at the beginning of us dating, and now later he knows I'm having trouble moving out from my abusive family. He says he doesn't have enough money to help me and that I'm on my own. Is it wrong for me to think something is fishy? Now, a lot of people will respond to that and they'd go, yeah, this is something seriously fishy. This guy's a liar. This isn't true. But I don't look at it that way. And this is an important thing. So I'm glad she sent this comment in, because this comes up a lot when I do live coaching sessions. And especially with women on their end of the relationship, instead of saying something, instead of not saying something and saying like, and thinking means you don't know. It's assumption. Thinking's not bad. We all do it. But to assume that this is fishy because you're not getting what you want, what I would say is ask him directly, eye to eye. Does he not have the money, or does he not want to get involved and help you? Ask him directly to his face. See his reaction, see his body language, then you'll know. And by the way, fair enough. If he doesn't want to help you out, if he doesn't think that that's the way he wants to put his money, because it's very possible that he makes a lot of money from these businesses and he doesn't want to put up the bill for you to move out. So ask him directly. Don't assume. This is your boyfriend. You have a right to ask. And don't dance around it. Don't, well, I assume this, or, well, I think this. Don't hint. Ask the direct question. Are you not helping me out because you don't have the money? Are you not helping me out because you don't want to, or because you don't like the idea of me moving out? Right? Men don't operate on hints. They don't operate on subliminal communication. So just put him on the spot and ask him directly, and then you'll know. And if he kind of winces and goes, well, I don't really have the money, and he's kind of nervously shaking his leg, then he's probably lying. But, there's a lot of people out there in relationships that might not want to help someone foot the bill. And I don't know what the bill is, and then what is he starting there that he's going to start supporting you? I mean, why wouldn't you move in together, would be my question. So the reason I want to talk about that really quick was that this just comes up a lot. It comes up a lot that individuals out there think they know. They think something's fishy. If it's someone you're with, ask them. Something else that came in the comments from the channel: 9 years trying to help my girlfriend, kicked her out tonight. 9 years. It's a long time to help someone out the whole time. I hope she was helping you out at the same time. Alternative spirituality. So good, Mac. If I may throw my opinion into one little part of this, is that there's a lot of people in New York City, but there's not relationship oriented at all. So I'm assuming this person's in New York. This is in relation to a video I just did on a live stream, and the story was based in New York. It says, if I may throw my opinion to a little part, of this. There's a lot of people in New York City, yes, but there's not long-term relationship oriented at all. They're mostly interested in sex and very short relationships, open relationships, polyamorous relationships. Well, just to let you know, I do have a client that lives in New York City. I don't know if it's New York City, it's Queens. And I would definitely say that she's someone that wants a long-term relationship. So this is one of those things, alternative spirituality. That's your experience there, and that's fine. That's fine. I don't know what the population of New York City is right now, but it's in the millions, right? And I would say that what you're doing is you're saying they're not long-term relationship oriented, all of them, or just the ones you dealt with, or in your experience. That's a different thing, because I do know people over there that are in the long-term relationships. The odds change. The more people there are, the more variety there is, the more it changes. Jen, what's going on in Maui? Wowie. I hope you're doing well out there. Enjoy yourself. So we do have a couple other comments were out there. Outstanding advice, Max. Someone told me that they had met someone else. I just went out. Okay, thanks for being honest and take care. All the best. And guess what? I blocked them and deleted them and just went completely cold. I never understood why or what or even bother them. In fact, I had to laugh at it. I've often told people, okay is a very powerful response in this day and age. Sometimes people say things you don't like. Sometimes people say things you don't agree with. And if you have the ability to go, okay, completely neutral, there's no reason to engage in trying to talk someone out of their opinion when they're dug in. Or when someone just says, I can't make it tonight, or I don't think we'll be able to go out on that date. Okay. It's actually very attractive to a lot of people, because it's like, oh, no pushback, no, this is bad, this is wrong. No, it's just acceptance. And it's just a powerful word. It's easy to use. And it's a lot of times when I tell people that, they start to laugh, right? FP commented, currently doing a complete no contact. This is all great advice. Really hard at first, but it gets easier after time. Now to get through the holidays as a single person. The thing about no contact is it's one of those things that you're at a point where it's, what's the alternative? Knocking on someone's door that don't want to open the door, knocking on someone's door that's going to be rude or upset or treat you like shit. You go into no contact because really you're trying to move forward, because you've exhausted all your efforts, you've broken up, and now you have to accept it. The idea of being single during the holidays, there's a lot of other people in the same boat, and it's not all bad, right? It's not all bad. You still have your family, right? All right, so I do have a story on deck. I'll get into that. We have 3 on deck today, so I guess this is a little weird time for people. Hey, Coach, I just broke up with my ex about 2 weeks ago. We were together for the last 15 months and change. We got along great with an S. She's 29 and I'm 24, so you don't really see that often, right? An actual younger guy than girl in their 20s. We met playing video games online, so we immediately had this game as something that kept us together. The first few months we didn't see each other, but talked a lot on chat and sent each other photos. When I'd asked to talk on video chat, she'd say she was shy and a little bit curvy, but I was okay with that. I like curvy big women sometimes. Okay. And then there's a lot of guys like you. So then after 3 months, we had our first online FaceTime. And this led to some fooling around and her actually getting naked. I love this, and we continued meeting like this for months afterwards. So this is really common right now. A lot of people might be going, what? It's really common that people have online relationships, they get kinky, and they, I guess you could call it cyber intimacy. And it's more and more prevalent. It's more and more comfortable. Who said it's wrong? Who said it's right? I mean, I'd prefer in person, but it is what it is. And then what happens is this becomes a relationship track for some people. So what do I mean by that? Is a lot of times, someone might be listening to this going, what? What's going on? This is probably the future for a lot of people out there. But what happens is they have prior relationships, or they have a relationship like this, and then without even subconsciously knowing it, they seek their next relationship or accept their next relationship to be the same. So, like I said, I'm seeing this more and more. The odds are against these people to stay together because there's massive amounts of insecurity because you're not in each other's presence, and you're usually on different time zones, or you're on different time, how should I say it, schedules. And so someone that's supposed to meet up at 8 or 9 o'clock at night regularly, and then they don't. And a lot of times, a lot of these people are homebodies. They stay home a lot. So they get dependent, not all, they get very dependent on this meetup with the person online. And they actually, if they do this for too long, they actually lose some social skills. And they are uncomfortable seeking a relationship in person because they've gone with the online thing for so long. Now, let me just clarify. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying what it creates long term. I had relationships like this before, so I was comfortable with it. I was all in and asked her to be my girlfriend. She said it was about time I asked. About the last month we were together, she really pulled away, saying being online partners no longer was fun, and being that we are in different countries, there you go, and don't have the money to even visit, she's not happy anymore. She basically said it's got boring. I mean, and this is where it heads. He says they're together for 15 months, they're online, they never met each other. He doesn't say that in the beginning. He says it's not a problem for him because they fool around online. But there's an expiration date on this kind of stuff. It's not the same, and it's a shallower relationship. And then a week later, I noticed her flirting with another guy in our chat group for the game we play. This sounds very familiar to a story I've read before. I contacted her outside the chat and let her have it. I said, "You're still my girlfriend." That's when she said she doesn't feel that way and always thought the door was open to see other people. Even though she wasn't seeing this guy in the chat, she then admitted to talking to other guys and losing feelings for me a long time ago. Well, there's your clarity. Here's the thing about this, too. You're going to probably have to get out of that chat group for a little while and out of that game if you're going to move on from this, because I've had other people go, because basically you're keeping track of what she's doing, and you're just in different end zones. And this is what happens. Oh, I thought we were doing great. Oh, this has been really comfortable for me. I really enjoy meeting you online and talking. She doesn't. She's bored. She's tired of it. She's talking to someone else. She thought she had the ability to talk. You were on different wavelengths. So you're thinking like, what happened here? Well, you misdiagnosed the relationship. And this happens more when you're doing an online thing and you can't be in each other's presence. That really hurt, so I just ghosted her. Then she dropped me a line yesterday asking how I've been and if we could still be friends. It's only been 2 weeks, and I really love this girl, but I feel like she wasn't honest with me at all and really took me for granted. Well, here's that little, this is a classic victim anthem. Oh, she did this to me, she did that to me. Get your big boy pants on and be an adult here and be realistic about the idea that you're in a relationship with someone online. You've never met in person. You don't know that well. I'm okay with it. Okay? But know what it is. It's not as deep as if you were boyfriend and girlfriend living in the same town, being able to see each other 5 or 6 days a week. Okay? Now, what's really interesting about this is I've been doing coaching now for 3.5, 4 years. I meet people on FaceTime all the time. Okay. And, I've talked to other people since COVID that are in the therapeutic field that do a variety of different things, hypnotherapist, therapist. And FaceTime's not bad for that because it's very comfortable in the sense that you could talk from your room. The interaction's really good. You can read people's body language. To me, you can hold a relationship like this. Okay, you can hold a relationship online, but there is an expiration date on it. But at some point, there's no alternative. There's no substitute for physical touch of two human beings. Now, this is going to be challenged over the next century because I don't know if anyone's seen in the news so far, but metaverse, where Facebook's going with 3D reality, this is crazy, man. You're going to be able to become part of a cartoon and live a completely alternative lifestyle where I don't even know what to call it. It's non-reality. Now, some people are going to think this is really cool. More power to you. Who am I to say what entertains or excites you? But I just, call me old-fashioned, but to have a relationship where you don't get to physically touch each other or engage in real intimacy, can that be substituted long-term? I mean, at the end of the day, when this guy's saying that they're meeting each other on FaceTime and they're fooling around and they're taking their clothes off, okay, stuff happens now. It's not that odd. Like 10, 15 years ago, someone's like, oh my goodness, whatever. Go for you if you're happy with it. This is what happens, though, is someone gets left holding the bag or the Kleenex box, probably in some cases, and I'm not talking about tears, right? And they go, wait a minute, what happened here? And someone else goes, well, here's the thing. You have this online relationship, right? Where you don't see each other. The other person, if they meet someone, first of all, cheating on you online by talking to other people is probably a lot easier. Second of all, if they meet someone in their environment, vicinity, or area that's live, they'll probably go with that option. And so you're inevitably not going to last forever. No one, is there any, I don't know if it's happened yet. It probably has. It's probably highly rare. But, I mean, is there marriage happening? We never met each other, but we got married online. Maybe that's a future thing. And I've developed an understanding of this. When I first came across it, I'm like, what are you even in this relationship for? You're in other countries, this, that, and the other. It's inevitable right now with the way society is. The problem is relationships already are tough enough without interaction in person. I think you're really settling in this case. And the problem with it also is like I said, people don't realize this. This is why when you come to me in for a live coaching, I'll ask you about your past relationships, your parents' relationships, your caretakers. Because those are all a culmination of how you think relationships work. It's so incredible because I was just listening to, I think his name's Aubrey Marcus. He's got a really good podcast. He's very esoteric. He's one of those people. I think he's a former surfer, some kind of athlete of some sort. He's got a pretty big pool on his podcast, but sometimes he gets way too deep on simple topics. He gets very esoteric. He uses these big words and whatnot. And he's like, I think that, people misuse the word love. Says who? You? People muddy up the waters with love. Like, if you say love hurts, love doesn't hurt. Says who? You? Well, love can't hurt people. Well, for some people it can. People create their own interpretations and definitions of everything. And it's never been like this more than now. Never. So he asks on, it's only been 2 weeks and I really love this girl, but I feel like she wasn't honest with me at all and really took me for granted. I haven't responded yet, but I plan to tell her no, as I already have enough friends. And that's not what I want. Do you think that would ruin our chances of getting back together? This is one of those questions that I get all the time. in your particular case, you could stay friends and maybe get back together and get back into the zone of what your relationship was before, which was FaceTime stuff. But I mean, the question would be more, even if you were to get back together, what are you chasing? You want to have a 5-year relationship where you're in different countries and you can't see each other and you get naked on FaceTime? I mean, if that floats your boat, if that excites you, go for it. But I think what you have to ask yourself, what am I chasing here? What am I wanting a chance at? What am I really going after here? Right? Like, wait a minute. What's the best case scenario here in a year or two? Or if you don't have the money to see each other, if you're going to be long distance, you should be able to see each other once a month or once every 6 weeks, man. All right, let me get into the live stream. We have a few more people on deck. Christina Guarguez. I don't know if I said that correct. If you're still on deck, grateful for your channel and videos. Thankful for all you do. Well, thank you for saying thank you, Rob. Always a pleasure, Jen. It's kind of ironic. Jen says she's in Maui. Keisha says aloha, fam. That's ironic, right? Tommy Willis. I hope you're doing well, bud. Real well. Please, we only got 7 on deck, 3 likes. Appreciate it. If you guys have anything to chime in, any quick questions, go ahead. I do have another story to unpack here. But this is an interesting thing that's coming full circle, this metaverse. I've just come across the last couple days, and this 3D reality. Well, everyone knows it's coming, this, that, and the other. But I mean, I've been seeing this more and more where people just have a relationship that's solely online. I mean, are people going to have relationships with the cartoon characters? Probably. And people wonder why they're more depressed or anxiety. We're social creatures. We need interaction. We need camaraderie. It's tough. Is this enough? That would be a big topic. Is it enough to interact in these, basically like the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix is what we're looking at in the future. Artificial girlfriends and boyfriends. Is that something that people want to play with? Really interesting. The part that gets me is when people adapt to that, they won't be able to go back and be in a relationship with a person that challenges them, right? Because it's like if you saw that movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix, and who's the other woman that's in there? She's got a great voice for that too. He's got this woman that's basically his girlfriend / woman he's talking to. She never disagrees with him. She's always there for him. Is that a real relationship? I don't think so. All right, next story. Coach, I'm sorry, this one might be all over the place. My ex-fiance broke up with me 1 week before the wedding. She wouldn't sign a prenup, and I'm not going to get married without that. That's pretty cut and dry. I've been married twice, and I've recently come into a lot of money, and I'm not going to risk that. She agreed for months that it wasn't a problem. Then her brother-in-law, whose attorney, rewrote the prenup, which favored her. I told her that's not how it works. You don't have leverage here. This isn't a negotiation. Well, that sounds like you're a businessman. Just the verbiage and the language you're using there. You aren't bringing any real money or assets to the table. She's actually 24 years old and I'm 45. Well, that gives me some clarity. So I know there's a chance this doesn't work. So if you know there's a chance this doesn't work, why are you getting married? This is what makes me wonder if some people just get married just for the ceremony. I'm okay with that, but I'm not going to be completely negligent and lose a bunch of money. So now here we are. She still has her stuff at my place and isn't responding to my calls. She said that I didn't even consider her counter proposal, and it's only fair she gets some things if we divorce. I don't agree. Well, there you go. The tough thing for you it's going to be hard to go back to just being girlfriend, boyfriend. If I were you and you wanted to have this rock solid prenup and you anticipate the possibility of getting divorced based on the 20-year age difference, why even get married would be my question. What was that pushed upon you? Did you get married with the idea of, well, if that's what she really wants, we could have a big wedding, she can get the ring, but she's getting nothing. But she's also floating her true colors. I told her if I die, then she'll get a whole lot, but divorce, no. Now, some people might think that's cold, but that's actually, again, obviously this guy's thinking in terms of business, no emotion. Now, I'm wondering, I mean, you also don't really want to put that on the table, right? I guess what you could tell her is maybe if you have that much money, maybe you get yourself a really good life insurance. Now I'm wondering, how do I get her to even meet up with me so we can talk about this? Well, first of all, it sounds like you're really far apart, right? She's saying that you're not even, you're probably, if you're gonna make this work, you probably have to give in on some level. If you're gonna make this work, the idea that, because she's gonna lose face with her brother-in-law, which is married to her sister, you know, her putting this on the table and getting basically a stiff arm from you. She's not going to accept meeting up with you to have that happen again. I believe if that happens, then maybe I can explain everything from my viewpoint. Exactly. I think you've already explained it from your viewpoint. I think you have. It doesn't sound like it's good enough. Hold on a sec here. I also know which buttons to push for her. So how can I get back in my good graces and have her sign the agreement? This is an interesting one because I don't know if it's a good idea for you to get her to sign the agreement or for you to even get married at this point. So, I mean, what I would ask you if we were in a live coaching session or we were talking live, I'd say, why are you getting married? What's your reason? Is this to appease her anyways? And what's your confidence in the marriage? Because if I'd say on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your confidence in the marriage? And you say 5 or 6, then you got one leg out and one leg in. I don't know if that's the right way to start marriage. Just because you have a prenup, you feel bulletproof. Because I don't know which state you're in, but I know even if you have prenups in certain states, if this is from the states, in certain places, she could still go for the kneecaps. There's all kinds of variables here. And I'm just wondering, being that there's an age difference, if you're just trying to appease her. And by the way, the elephant in the room is you're 21 years apart. She's 24, you're 45. Good for you. I've had plenty of clients in the past with, you're in your 40s, even 50s, and you're dating someone in their mid to late 20s. And the guy's always enamored. And the guy always tells me, too, by the way, I'm really good looking. I look really young for my age. And I always think to myself, I believe you could. And when I'm in coaching sessions, I'm like, yeah, it's true. But what gets lost is maturity and wisdom. And having a relationship with that big of an age gap, I don't have a problem with it. But the odds are against you working again, just like the past one. It's one of those things, the wisdom and maturity and the communication is going to be off. And what I've seen time and time again is that someone wants something different because of the age difference or communicates much different. And if you have a woman, even if you didn't have the age gap, but she's in her mid-20s, they're just more flighty and more impulsive and they have more options. So they're more likely to bail when stuff goes wrong. That's just how it is. And so you probably are anticipating that. My question, like I said, if you need a rock-solid prenup and you're dug in on that, why get married? Why not just continue to be boyfriend and girlfriend? It's a good question, right? And this is what I've told people before that are in these situations. It would be nice if there's an alternative to marriage. Because I do think there are people out there, correct me if I'm wrong, that just want a big wedding. I've had friends that their girlfriends want these $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 weddings, and they plan for them for 2 years. It's what I've always wanted. Is that one of the biggest parts of getting married? I think, some people, oh no, that's not, I wonder if it is. And then what? It's kind of like when I went to college. It took me 5-6 years to get my bachelor's degree. And then when I graduated, it's kind of like, oh, okay, is this it? Is this what I didn't even walk to get the diploma. It wasn't even that big a deal, right? It's like, is the actual wedding ceremony that big a deal, or having that ring on your finger? Or is the commitment what you want? You got to really believe in that commitment, don't you? I think so. It's a pretty heavy commitment, to death do us part, right? What's the alternative? That's a good question, because it seems like more and more people out there are just going, yeah, marriage, no. Yeah, marriage, no. The question would be, is marriage a outdated idea? Is it not fit into where we're going in the 21st century? It's a good question to ask. All right, folks, the live stream seems a little slow today. Does anyone have any questions or input or things going on that they want me to address? Crystal Rudas, welcome. Take a look at this. I noticed last time I was on, the sound was off. Just give me a heads up. Is the sound okay today, or does it sound echoey? What's up, Clutch? Good morning, huh? Is it late over there? Just going through these comments really quick. Hold on. Skinner, what's up? It's been a slow first 30 minutes on the live stream here. But I'm glad to have you, Skinner. Congratulations on doubles. They look good. Real good, Skinner. I know you're a Chi-Town rider. Yeah, 10 at night, living the dream, working hard, getting respected and resented at the same time. Yeah. Good for you, man. Good for you. Living the corporate dream, man. I could never live the corporate dream. I remember, I don't think I've ever had a job that I would consider corporate. But I have a really good friend. One of those friends that's a really good friend, but we don't talk very much because we live in different countries now. Now he's in Cali. But he worked for one of his best friends that built $1 million company, and he was his right hand in the company, and they really grew together. But he had some, I think being that it was his best friend and the way they grew, he always felt like he wasn't appreciated and he was underpaid because he didn't have a stake in the company, but he helped build it, if you know what I mean. And he recently got, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, like a corporate job. And he was like, man, this is the best thing I've ever done. The security, the certainty. He loves it. He loves it. So, everything you do as a job is a trade-off, right, Clutch? I mean, and sometimes you don't realize what you're trading until you let go of the job and you go, oh my goodness, right? But it's very nice to be significant where you work, to be important, to feel like you're good at what you do first and foremost. And, if you're a manager or you're a boss and you're resented at the same time, kind of goes with the territory, right? Not everyone's going to like you. I realized that being a teacher for years in the past. If you have a class of 35 students, there's going to be 4 or 5 that don't care for your class. That's normal. But at the end of the day, you're the boss, right? You make the moves. All right, I had one more sort of story because this was kind of short. This is more of a question. I broke up with my ex of 2 years 6 months ago, but recently we got back together, but that only lasted 3 weeks. So this is already confusing. Excuse me. Broke up 2 years 6 months ago. My ex 2 years, so 6 months ago, but recently we got back together and it lasted only 3 weeks. We live in different cities, and it's a 4-hour drive with traffic. Wow, that sucks. I was just talking to someone recently how much traffic affects your mood. So this client of mine lives in LA, and he was talking about this story about his current girlfriend because I helped him with a breakup in the past, but now we talk about his current relationship and how his girlfriend just came in with an attitude and was bitching about he didn't take the trash out and just got over the top. He's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she's like, nothing. I'm going to go walk the dog, and they needed to cool off, and then he made a big deal out of it. And I said, so where was she before she walked in the door? He goes, oh, well, she was doing her gym class or whatever. I said, okay. How long is it? He goes, but it's about a 40-minute drive with traffic. I go, well, there you go. Traffic will put you in an irritable mood when you walk into the door if it's bad traffic. I've been through it in my life. It's underrated. It's people just deal with it, but it will take years off your life. So that's not fun. If it's a 4-hour drive without traffic, much different ball game, right? So I kind of don't know how to beat that. Well, is there a way to fly there? Especially due to the fact that I believe she was flirting with coworkers. So that's a totally different problem than the 4-hour car drive. She works with a lot of high-value men, and we would only see each other on the weekends. I just don't think that was enough. I really don't. I offered to move her to my place, but she said she likes her job. So then she said I should move to her. But I said, I've got to be close to my mom for health reasons. Well, there you go. I mean, this is trade-off. I can't do this. I can do this. I can't do this. You got 3 strikes immediately. A 4-hour drive with traffic. That sounds like fun. The idea that you believe she's flirting with other coworkers because they're high-value men, which translates to me saying you kind of think you're not up to par. Even if you are high value or whatever that, I don't even like that term because that can mean so many different things if you're watching different YouTube channels. But working with men, it's not a comfortable position. Just like if if you worked at a strip club, your girlfriend or whatever would have to deal with that. She'd have to have a high level of confidence and a high level of trust in you. She works a lot of high value men. We only see each other on weekends. I just don't think that was enough. I really don't. I offered to move her to my place, but she said she likes her job. So you're not willing to move to her. She's not willing to yours. The most recent breakup has put us into a no contact now for 3 weeks, and I've been jumping the walls because we've never gone this long without a text, because even during the breakup, we always stayed in contact and even hooked up on and off. Well, this is when it gets real. I guess I always thought we could continue like this or get back together. I mean, so what would that be though, right? She won't move to where you live because of her job, and you won't move there because of your mom. Fair enough. You have a 4-hour drive with traffic. You believe she's flirting with coworkers, and you don't think it's enough to see each other on the weekends. So go into no contact, lick your wounds, or call her. Call her and tell her, hey, I don't like this 4-hour drive. I think you're messing around with coworkers, and it would just be better if you moved here. And what's the answer you're going to get? Now, why am I telling you that? Those are the problems. Are they fixable? Are they negotiable? If they're not, jump off the walls for 3 weeks, because it's hard being in no contact when you still care and love about someone. Classic. Now 3 weeks into no contact, I'm wondering, how do I get her back? The question is not how to get her back. The question is, do you want to be in a relationship with this many holes? Do you want to be in a relationship that's this hard? Is it possible for the city you currently live in to meet someone closer to you? What can I do to get her to call me? Post a picture of you with a hot woman on social media would be one, according to a lot of YouTube channels. And this does work for jealousy and whatnot, but it doesn't always work. It's fake. It's unauthentic. What can I do to get her to call me? Question again. What do you guys think on the live stream? In your particular case, none of the things you've mentioned seem like they're going to get fixed, nor do you, either of you seem like you want to give in or do it for someone. What can I do to re-attract her? I don't think it's been mentioned once here that attraction was an issue. Right? I've watched videos on it all, but I'd like perspective. Thank you in advance. This is when I just had a client recently crying her eyes out. I said, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's going to be hard. Going no contact with someone you really love, that you've had a relationship with, and you still want to be with them, you still have attraction, but deep down, do you think it's going to work? Even if you re-attract her, even if you call her, do you really believe it's going to work? Do you really think is the 4-hour drive going to get better? Is the idea that she's flirting with coworkers going to get better? Right? It doesn't sound like it. And so if anything's going to work, or if anyone's going to come to the table, yourself included, you probably have to be in no contact a little bit longer than 3 weeks. And then what would work is if you said, you know what, maybe I'll move down there. Now, I wouldn't say to do that just for her, but maybe revisit that. At this point, I wouldn't say that's going to get her back or re-attract her, but that would solve one of the problems. Right? And it's completely admirable that you want to be closer to your mom for health reasons. So I'm not going to tell you, hey, you know what? Just leave mom alone. Maybe get her a caretaker. Right? But people don't get creative until it really gets real. The amount of guys I've had, I don't know if Clutch, you do coaching or you did coaching before. The amount of guys that I've had that have had the situation where the classic, well, she wanted to get married, but I kept putting it off. And then when we broke up, I said, well, why don't we just get married then? Doesn't work that way. So like, even if you went back to her and you're like, well, I'll move back, it's like, no, it's too late. Now you're just doing it to appease me, and now it's unattractive. There's a window on these kinds of things, right? Usually it's a fear of being alone that trumps the need to be healthy. Absolutely. Well, also in this particular case, you know, they have been playing, I think he said, we have never gone this long without a text, because during the breakup, we always stayed in contact. So this is the dangerous in having multiple breakups in your relationship and then thinking, oh, we'll always get back together, or we'll always be able to hook up and kind of stay in that gray area. No. At some point, when you stay in a gray area, a gray area to me is like you stay in contact, you maybe hook up, right? You still see each other, you kind of fight sometimes, but you're not really broken up completely. You kind of have it in the back of your head that you're going to get back together. It's almost like you took a few steps back, but you're still, you know what I mean? someone gets left holding the ball, or someone goes, I don't like this anymore, or someone that has more confidence and self-esteem is actually saying, and it's usually the person that broke up with the other person or initiated the breakup, that you're actually holding a place of weaning them off the relationship. And what they're doing is, well, this is nice till I really meet someone else. And then once they meet someone else, all of a sudden you're like, what happened? They got really cold on me. They met someone else. I call it the Statue of Liberty play. I know the Statue of Liberty play from football, but I don't know what you mean by that in regards to this. It's a two-edged sword. You can be successful and be disliked by those who outshine, or you can be mediocre and not move up. You can be successful and disliked by those you outshine, or you can be mediocre and not move up. I suppose anytime you move up, the people that are, wow, $50 university pipe? That's generous. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I really, really do. I feel like you still need to do late night live streams once you are in the States. I probably will. Laquita Foley. Where are you out in the world, Laquita? What a great name. Going back to Clutch's statement, you know, it's interesting what you say about that, because that's a trade-off, right, of progress, is that people that, I think I heard Denzel Washington say something to this effect. People that are doing really well, okay, they generally don't have problems with other people doing well. Now, if you're stomping on people along the way, or, this, that, or the other, people hire people in management or jobs. Someone's got to be the bad guy. It's really interesting. I was watching this documentary on Netflix. You guys have maybe heard of it. Don't Fuck with Cats. And it's about like some guy that was killing cats on YouTube. Really, really dark stuff. There's some dark people in the world, isn't there? And what was interesting about that, Clutch, where I'm going with that on this, is this lady, they had formed this like committee online or group online, a Facebook group looking for this guy. It's a pretty admirable thing, right? They're basically saying, instead of saying how bad it was, let us find this piece of crap, right? But what was interesting is she was saying she's a data analyst for a major casino, and she's like, basically, I'm a computer nerd. Cool. And she's like, I have this alter ego on Facebook with a different name, and I spend a lot of time online at night. And I was like, how many people do that, right? You know what I mean? That they're a different person online in her Facebook group. And she was saying, when this investigation on this cat killer got deep, the guy basically showed up to her casino and filmed her, which is really scary, right? And so she's like, I had to go to my boss, who's a professional such and such, VP of, gaming and all this other stuff, and tell them. She goes, I was mortified. What a word, mortified, right? She goes, I was completely mortified that I was going to have to tell them that I'm hunting a cat killer on YouTube. And here I got this serious data analyst job. What a contrast, right? And so where I'm going with that is, even though you're a boss or a corporate manager, Clutch, I wonder if they know the Truth of Love channel, right? That people can play different roles or different identities, and it's okay. Do things you enjoy that are good for you move forward one of the most attractive things? University Pipe, I'm not sure I understand the question completely, and I do want to get it right. Do things you enjoy that are good for you move forward? One of the most attractive things. Can you elaborate a little bit, University Pipe, on what you're asking or what you mean? Usually that's a fear of being alone. Okay. Laquita Foley says, my name is Blackfoot. Okay. Blackfoot is a Native American tribe, I believe, too. Kansas City's supposed to have, I used to have a client when I was in real estate in California. I said, what's Kansas City known for? Actually, I knew someone here in Thailand, too. And they both told me steakhouses and barbecue. Barbecue, I think it was. And the Chiefs. I know who the Chiefs are. Laquita, for some reason, I feel like I don't remember seeing you hop in on some of these live streams before. But thank you for saying that you want the late nights. It's a balancing act. Office politics is a thing. How many people have a fake persona? How about yeah. Cool, man. But it was just interesting because this lady was like, you know, she had a different name. She had all this stuff. And she's like, I was mortified that I'd have to share this. This side of me. But I mean, what she was doing was admirable. It's kind of a strange thing. But at the same time, she's basically playing detective for people killing cats, which is a crime that's probably not going to be investigated by cops too diligently. So I was late to show. You asked what the gentleman could do. I meant to concentrate on yourself and move forward sooner and less trying to get her back. I meant to concentrate on yourself and move forward sooner or less trying to get her back. Yeah. I always try to tread lightly with trying. So that might sound funny to some people. But when you're in a space where you feel like you're trying to get someone back, think about that for a minute. Whenever you first dated someone, were you trying really hard? Maybe you say you were. Or, you know, the times that relationships work the best, or it doesn't feel like anyone's trying. That's why I like to tell people that are a little nervous about dating. I said, don't be afraid to spill a drink. That means, you know, if you're at the table and you knock over a glass. I remember in my early 20s, I remember, I think I was like 20 or 21. And just a train wreck situation. I've talked about it before on the live streams before, but maybe there's some different people on. And I went to go visit this girl that was at another university on the East Coast, and from California. So it was kind of like I'd never gone out to the city before. Me and this girl were kind of talking right before she left. We knew each other. Definitely liked each other. Stayed in contact through AOL chat. That's how old this was, 20 years ago. And went out there to visit, and I was there for a week. It was just a wreck. It went from good to really bad really quick. I think she had some sort of depression. She'd be, you know, she just went off on me for not cleaning my bowl correctly in the sink, and I was staying with her. It's like someone asked me, you don't know someone really well and you go out to visit them, you know, and you're kind of talking, or maybe you meet someone online and you're going to meet up. Get your own place. Don't stay at their place. Not if you don't know what it's like, because staying with people is different. There's people that are anal about stuff, or they get antsy. It was horrible. And then I had to stay there for the week. I was a college student. I didn't have a lot of extra money to get a place in this major city to move out. And I was there for 5 days. And I remember we went out to eat with our friends, and it was just uncomfortable. Because from the first day, which was really good, to like the third day, it was just off, but we had to hang out. And I remember I like knocked over a drink at the table, and I like it just was so fucking uncomfortable. And now I look back and I'm like, who cares if you knock over a drink? Who cares if whatever. If that was me now, I would have found a place to go stay. I wouldn't have been like, oh, I can't find a place. Laquita says, yeah, barbecue. That's what you guys are known for, right? I was late to the show. Okay, yeah. I'm at work to listen, but rarely have free hands to type. Oh, okay. How's the echo today? Usually Clutch tells me, but I listened to my last one, and it sounded like it wasn't coming in that great. Good. Very good. Thanks, buddy. Thanks, Pipe. What do you guys think about this? Let's just take it in a different direction. We got 10 on deck, 5 likes, 1 donation. Much appreciated. Has anyone looked at this metaverse? This thing that they're doing with Facebook? I know I don't get into these things very often. I just watched a brief YouTube video on it with Mark Zuckerman. I think it's kind of ironic that Mark Zuckerman's he's dressed in all black, very Steve Jobs, right? Very casual. And he's being the spokesman. And look this up, this metaverse or meta, and what the what they're pitching. You saw this, Rob? Basically, that you're going to be in, and Zuckerberg, like I said, it's almost eerie because he's dressed. Obviously, doesn't look like Steve Jobs. They look different, but he's dressed like Steve Jobs in like a very casual black sweatshirt, jeans. And he's the front man, and he's not, I don't know, right? What do I say about it? He's just not a person that you're, is he liked? Here's one of those things, I've said this about Steve Jobs before. You get a movie made about you, take a bow, right? That's a big deal. You're famous, you're rich. I guess that's something cool. But I mean, the movie about Steve Jobs' life, it seems like he was a real asshole. Would he be happy with the movie that was made? Those movies weren't made till he passed away, right? But the movie that was made about Zuckerberg and Facebook, he's an asshole too, right? In other words, seeing that movie, what was it called again? I forgot what it was called. Someone can help me on that. I feel like after seeing the movie about Facebook, he's such a little jerk. Because look at how he started the thing, right? And maybe you have to give him a free pass because he was in his early 20s, and a lot of people who are in their early 20s are jerks, right? I'm sure I had my moments. Actually, I know I've had my moments. But The Social Network, thanks, Clutch. But like, you watch a movie like that, I can't get that out of my head when I view him now, because that's like his. Okay, it's just about Facebook, so you didn't see how he grew up and whatnot. But it's not a very favorable way to look at him, right? He seems spineless, misleading. So like, you get this movie made about you. I don't know if he signed off on it or he didn't sign off on it. But then you go and try to pitch a pretty fucking big product, this metaverse that's, I don't even know if you call it a product, right, Rob? I don't even know if you call it a product, but you know what I mean? Like, this is a big thing to pitch, that basically you're telling people that you can be in alternate rooms. It's 3D. You can, like we're doing the live stream right now, all 10 of us could be in a room and we could be different characters in cartoon masks and stuff like that. And I heard someone else chime in on it on the internet and was like, look, even if you don't like him, and it was kind of funny because it's like, oh, a lot of people don't like Facebook or they don't like him. Yeah, because of that movie. That's a big reason. And I'm going to say that this kind of a thing's going to work. There's a lot of people that are into this. I think that I just missed the generation. Being 40 years old, growing up with a paper out, 35 millimeter film, I'm behind. I feel young. I feel like I look young. But when I'm around people that are 21, 22, I'm like, oh, shit, I'm old. Right? And this virtual world thing, I don't know if his version's going to work, but it's going to be a reality in, 5-10 years. Right? It's going to be. But my thing is, I wouldn't have him pitching it. I wouldn't have him in the commercial ads. And then he went to Congress, and I didn't even follow all the things on Congress. I'm not big on that. But he also just seems slimy. There's something about him you don't trust. He's not down to earth. And I also heard a little tidbit in Hawaii. I got some extended family, not close family, friends out there, but some ties out there. My niece and nephew are Polynesian. They got some family out there. And supposedly he's a total asshole. Like, he tried to block off all these roads. So I'm just saying, like, he's not pitchable. You know what I mean? It's like, and so when I saw him on there, I'm like, yeah, man, this seems like a cool idea and it would go. It's not my thing, but it would go. But, like, you shouldn't be pitching it. You can't erase that fact of who you appeared to be in that movie, and it's kind of true, right? It's a little off topic, but give me your take out there. You know that stare he has that's a sociopath look where they look like they're staring right through you? Not saying he is one, but he definitely stares like one. I mean, like I said, in the movie, whether that's true or not, the kind of character he is, he's one of those guys that's extremely intelligent and smart, but uses it in a vindictive way. And he definitely wasn't truthful with his partners. He validated that. And the way he started Facebook was basically putting someone on blast or whatever you want to call it that didn't want to date him anymore and crushing her publicly. That was a dirty move. Like, to me, actually, spinning this whole point into something that's related to relationships, one of the worst things someone can do, and I had a friend or a couple that were friends. What I mean by that is I'm friends with both of them. You know what I mean? Sometimes you're friends with just one, but sometimes you're friends with both in different ways. But you connect with both. And sometimes that's difficult because when they fight, they plead their case and you're like, look, so-and-so has been my friend for a long time, so you just try to stay neutral, which is hard when you're a breakup coach. But in this particular case, the girlfriend would go public with everything. Now, I'm not a big Facebooker. I'm not on there very often. I'm not active at all. I don't think I've been on Facebook for months, as far even to check in. But she would put him on blast with everything, and he'd go, I just don't think that's right. I'm like, completely unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. If you're with someone that airs out your dirty laundry online, hell no. You got in a fight, you got in an argument, and they post details to that? No. No bueno. That's ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We're done. And, don't... And this is where it comes up. Oh, isn't that messed up? I would never do that. It's like, well, then be done. There's certain things you got to check your dignity at the door. You got to say to yourself, because the minute you accept it, it'll happen again. I feel like your mindset has just the right amount of abundance, manifest, and red pill. I have a very similar perspective. Well, you're a really good person then. Thanks, Laquita. It's kind of like a virtual world, right? Okay, prediction. Facebook will be MySpace in 5 years. I kind of, what's interesting about that, Clutch? I kind of thought that 5 years ago. So, what's interesting about living abroad or living in Thailand, living in Asia, is even though I'm connected to a lot of people back home, especially with coaching, especially with, doing these live streams and whatnot, but Facebook's huge here. It's huge. I would say it's by far the dominant platform, with maybe Instagram second. Now, what's interesting about that, when I'd go home to visit, the last 10 years, I go home for a month each time. And, I talk to people. Everyone in California is like, I don't even do Facebook anymore. I mean, 4 or 5 years ago, I don't use Facebook. I just use Instagram, or I just use Snapchat. Like, Facebook was out. And I remember thinking, like, damn, Facebook's about to. But on the flip side, over here, very hot, very commonly used. And for someone like my mother, uses it very commonly in her 60s. So it hasn't lost all its users, right? But I always have felt, Clutch, that anyone could be the next MySpace. But here's what Facebook did very cleverly, right? They bought Instagram. So they basically bought their competition so they can control that. Yet once you have 40, you're good in reality as we know it. What does that mean? You're good in reality as we know it. Government regulations will limit who can join Facebook. It will start in the first world and move down. This tech Zuckerberg is trying to get the younglings on Facebook, but demographically they don't tend to. Facebook tends to be boomer thing. Instagram will survive. Time will tell. Time will tell. I'm glad I'm not addicted or into either one. I think the 2016 elections killed Facebook for me too many emotions if you didn't vote the same. Well, yeah, that's one of those things where, the way things are now, people, right now there's a bunch of people on this live stream that have an opinion, different things like that. But there's a lot of people that will talk about something they don't know anything about, they haven't studied, they haven't researched, and then they just want to pick a fight, or there's just all this noise. And basically there's snipers throwing out comments with camouflage names and telling people, well, you can't think this, right? And you don't even know who they are. It's so getting caught up in that is really bad. I mean, social media is entertaining at 40 and less influential. I see what you mean. Good point. Good point. And by the way, YouTube is a form of social media because you make comments, what we're doing right now. So it seems like one of the, the big ones is, which is going to take something away from Facebook, but I haven't studied this stuff, so is Discords, right? Because I've noticed that some pretty big players on YouTube that have pretty big audiences are really pushing them to go to their Discords. This is something that Clutch preached to me a while ago, and I haven't followed up on, but I know why. It's a way to interact better, and you don't have to use Facebook. Counterculture of cancel culture is starting. Remember what I said? Always starts in comedy. Chappelle is calling out cancel culture directly now. It's only a matter of time before people start. He definitely provided a ripple. I haven't watched that show or series yet. But you did say that. That is true, Clutch. I do remember you saying that. Looking at the platforms to see what leverage they have played. Interesting time in the world right now. I feel like in the States there's just a lot of, this might be like a broad thing, but people in the States, there's a lot of negativity. on a bunch of different things. There's a lot of people that seem unhappy. I couldn't believe that a few days ago. I don't know who was on the live stream a few days ago when I asked, why do you go on vacation? And 2 or 3 of the first answers were to escape reality. I wasn't expecting that. To escape? Think about that statement, to escape reality. That means where you're currently at, you're really unhappy, right? Or maybe I look at it differently. Okay. Okay, Clutch says, there actually isn't that much negativity. They just have the loudest voices. That's a good point. See, that's from me not being in the States. That's just passively hearing things. That's true. In the States, we have a sense of entitlement. Hate to say it, but we are nearly universally disappointed. Even, what's funny is even Joe Rogan does it sometimes. We're the greatest country in the world. He has some of these speeches like, we're the greatest world power that's ever been seen in the world. I've heard him say things like this, and I'm like, okay, have you lived abroad? It's not to say that you're not allowed to have that opinion, but if you haven't really lived abroad or lived in another country, it's like, okay, it's pretty highly biased, right? And you've read history that was written by people from the States probably. But I mean, what is it that you're looking for? Because to me, it's like I've had a wonderful experience living here. Wonderful people, wonderful society. And, someone else could come in, and this is what bugs me about living here. And this is why I don't go into living here too much. And I don't want to get off topic because people are very curious about it. But there'll be some guy that came here for a week and went on 3 tourist buses. It's like someone earlier just told me, I said, Phuket, Thailand's beautiful. This is where I live. It's an island. Oh, yeah, I've been to Phuket before. Yeah, you got to get out of Phuket so you can get into the jungle and go on some zip lines. Newsflash, there's numerous zip lines in Phuket, and there's numerous jungles. It's a large island. So basically what he told me, he stayed at some resort or hotel on the beach, had an experience, and now he thinks he knows what it's like to be on the island, which is the same size as Singapore. So you get this all the time. It's like someone, I've been to Thailand. I know it. For what, a week? And by the way, you were just doing tourist stuff. So that's one of those things that bugs me, because people will go, oh yeah, I know because I saw a YouTube video and that's what they do over there. No. Too many people trying to make others feel guilty, not thinking the same, especially in Los Angeles. There's just a lot of people that are know-it-alls, or behind the comments that they're throwing around. They don't have the ability to claim ignorance. I'm more than happy to claim ignorance on things. I don't know a lot about that. Let me ask you a few more questions. To be honest, I don't know a lot about that. Maybe I'm wrong. But there other people just go, yeah, it's like this. It's like, okay, where'd you get that from? Oh, America's the greatest country in the world. Why? We're the most powerful. Why? Oh, we got the biggest army. Why? We're the highest level economy. Well, what do you... So that makes it the greatest country in the world? Yeah, of course. Okay. I would say, if you haven't lived in other places, I would judge where you live on the ability to be happy, the ability to have free time to do things. We're all gauging it in different ways. People just assume it to be this great place. Thank you, Clutch. Thank you for saying that. Thank you. I've actually told people before, well, you're just ignorant. What? Call me ignorant? I'm like, it's actually giving you a get out of jail free card for being an idiot. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm sorry, I'm ignorant to that. That means you don't know. That doesn't mean you're stupid. This is the truth. There's a lot of value in that. There's a lot of respect in that, right? You go on about something I don't know a whole lot about. There's a lot of value and respect when someone says, I don't know a whole lot about that. Well, let me ask you. Or I don't agree with you, but let me ask you some questions about your point of view so I can understand where you're coming from. Completely different way of communicating than trying to win. This is the big one. Let me try to win. Man, talk about a man that fell from intellectualism and now is all about attention-seeking behavior. It sucks. I used to like Rogan. You know what, Clutch? One thing why I think he's got such a big audience now, and he's so big. I don't think he's changed. I don't think he's changed who he is. I don't feel like he's being a different person. I will say this, that he's passively touching on things like the vaccine or like COVID. He darts in and out of this, but he won't go all in. He won't go all in on what he really thinks, or if he doesn't like the president or these kinds of things, he kind of neutralizes on different things. But I mean, he's a comic, right? So I'm sure he does like some attention from time to time. I mean, what comedian didn't grow up wanting to have attention? That's a good question, right? We are laugh out loud. We are the greatest in the capitalist viewpoint and value tangible things. Yeah, to me, living where I live now, I mean, I'm not saying which country is the best country. I'm not. I'm saying that in my experience, this is the best place I've ever lived for me. That's a different statement. Beautiful beach, clean air, tropics. I don't think I've ever been cold since living here. A variety of other reasons. Pandering to a wider audience, which is fine. That's maybe that's why he's got such a big audience. Whatever happened to Howard Stern? Is Howard Stern still popular? Did he lose a lot of because he's on Cyrus Radio or whatever it is? Because he was one of those guys that polarized his audience quite a bit. But I mean, he would just do disgusting. He just had audacity, right? Like Howard Stern had the most audacity, right? The most audacity. Whatever happened to him? And does he ever chime in on political stuff? And you value experiences. A lot of Americans do not. Not just experience, but that's a good point, Laquita. But you just don't realize wherever you live in the States, and because people ask me questions about America, or they'll make ignorant blanket statements, and a lot of times these are people from Europe. Oh, America's this, even Canadians, I'd add. Oh, Americans do this, Americans do that. From where? America's 300 million plus, 370 million plus. It's 50 states with 50 different sets of rules and laws. It's different in that sense. So it depends on the area that someone's from. And in America, depending on where you live, like Kansas would be a much different subculture of people than living in Hollywood. No one's better or no one's wrong. It's like kind of like living in a whole other country, right? to say you're all American is fine, but to say that if you lived in Kansas City and then moved to Hollywood, the style of clothes is different, the way people talk is probably different, the food's different, the way people treat each other is different. And so that's what people don't realize that are from like European countries. They're not very big. They're not. They're the size of states. And I think that where you live is going to contribute to how your lifestyle is, and you don't realize that till you move. I have a lot of clients that are in their 20s, even early 30s, that still live with their parents. I've talked about this before, and you think to yourself, I'm really thankful my dad basically kicked me in the ass at 19, 20 to get out of the house. Didn't force me out, but just made it difficult, charged me rent, wasn't very friendly to me, and it was great because I needed that. And a lot of people, the longer you live at home with your parents or someone helping you out, and when I mean helping you out, I mean is that you don't develop what you need to develop to move out on your own. Now, let me just tell you this to be fair. I've moved back, or I've stayed with my parents, or this, that, I'm not against it. But I'm talking about if you're like 23, 24, 25, and you've never made an effort to move out, but you complain about your parents. You complain about your situation because, it's going to be too expensive. Get roommates. I don't really want roommates because if I have roommates, they're going to dirty up the bathroom. Get a studio. I wouldn't want to live in a studio. Until you move out, that's another level of growth in your life. And then if you have to move back in because you're on hard times or you broke up, or I think FP says she's got to move back in with her sister, that's okay. But you got to attempt to get out there sometimes, because some of these young people that are living with their parents, they're mature, but they're never going to hit real adulthood until they get out of the house. Variety of reasons, Mac. Yes, sir. And all the reasons are good, my friend. I don't have much bad to say about where I live. It's going to be a culture shock to go back to Cali this next year, but I'm looking forward to it. Actually, Clutch, I got a friend that's from Orange County that's telling me to come down there, so maybe I'll see you down there, bud. Stern was insane. He would take the tequila and put her on a live radio. Definition of attention-seeking behavior. Oh my goodness. Stern would, like I said, it's audacity. Just pure audacity where you're like, what? If anyone's followed Stern before, and I remember I only listened to him. I used to like talk radio a lot too, which is now podcast, right? When he had Sackman on, I'm not going to go there unless someone says they know what I'm talking about. I can see how they see us as that. Yes, I feel like living all over has served me well. My perspective is broad and beautiful. So you've lived in other states or cities, but it's much different. It's much different. I'm much more accepting, understanding, open to meeting new and different people. It's a big thing. Some people are homebodies and would rather spend money making their homes comfortable and then going to travel. Sure. No problem with that. No judgment. I'm just saying there's a stark level of people that are young people that are staying to live with their parents because they believe they can't move out because it's too expensive. But then when I talk to them, they spend a lot of money on extravagant things. So it's more of a choice. Different states and city, alone and curious. Man, whenever you move somewhere new, it's defining moments for you. It really is, because you really have to, especially if you don't know anyone where you move, if you've done that before, It takes a little while. And also, you don't get the inclinations of people thinking they know you already. It's you start from scratch. All right, we got 10 on deck, 7 likes, 1 fat boy donation here from Mr. University Pipe, which was much appreciated. Did anyone have any questions? We're an hour and a half in. Any topics you want me to touch on in a future live stream? There's strength that comes from knowing I can go anywhere and thrive. Absolutely. Self-reliance, right? I think what University Pipe said is true, though. Too many people trying to make others feel guilty for not thinking the same. What a ridiculous thing, right? What a ridiculous thing. I don't even think people know they're doing it. They just think they're absolutely correct. I've been to Orange County briefly. I just drove through there. I lived in San Diego for 3.5, 4 years. I sometimes say 4 years. I don't know, 3.5, 4 years. So I'm familiar with the Southern California lifestyle. San Diego was great. I always thought I would never move. So funny. I always thought I'll never move from here, but then, and then being in Thailand for 11 years, I thought, people always ask me, are you ever going to move? Never say never. And now I'm going to be back in the States for a little while coming up here. The biggest fear people go through during a breakup is that their ex was right. Really? You think so? You mean their ex was right about what they said during the breakup, or their ex was right? I mean, if it's the dumper and dumpy, they were right about what? I feel like one of the biggest fears a lot of people have if they were in a long-term relationship is, especially early 30s, is the other person's going to meet someone else. It depends on the age range and where they're at, but that one's big for the ones in the early. They're going to meet. They're already talking to someone else. Mm-hmm. I haven't had they won't find someone better than me often, but it usually is a particular kind of person that thinks very highly of themselves. In my experience, it's usually a guy that's made a lot of money, has a really good job, goes to the gym, does all these things. Actually, I've had maybe 1 or 2 women like this, but they have a lot going for them, and they're actually obsessed afterwards because they don't get it. What, you'd break up with me? My biggest fear is that ex will give new person they are. That's to me, that's a big one, especially for women. My biggest fear is the ex will give a new person they are with everything I asked them for when we were together. Almost like you missed out, right? I would say women, I've talked about this numerous times, women seem to constantly say, I wish I didn't waste my time. That's if they're late 20s into their 30s. And then they get into their 40s before they even date. Don't waste my time. Where guys want to figure out logically and reasonably what happened and why, and somehow work it out. But honestly, if someone's been talking to someone, or they have someone they've been working on, or they've been flirting with someone at work, and you're wondering like, damn, they got over this so quick, and then 2 or 3 months later you find out, this happens a lot, you find out that they've been seeing someone since you broke up. That's how they got, there's a lot of people that lily pad around relationships. They don't stay. And if you, by the way, this is why I always tell people, let me hear about their past relationships. It's like a guy I just had a live coaching session with. He wrote a great story because he was just detailed. Some people think, oh, I wrote too much. No, give me everything you got. Very detailed. And it was easy because when we went through it, it all lined up. He was sitting there going, yeah, that's true. Or he's sitting there going, yeah, that's what I was thinking. And you're thinking to yourself, well, what's the value if he knew all this stuff? Why do you need to talk to you? Because sometimes you need reassurance that you're on the right path, or that someone that has some experience in this field of breakups and talks to a lot of people is actually like, no, you're right, man. And one of the things that he had was, she had been in 2 marriages. I think she was early 40s. She had been in 2 marriages and then 3 relationships since, and all the relationships were the other guy's fault. And she was in new relationships within a month. And so when she broke up with him, she was already dating someone within a month. She told him that it would be much different if it was, if he had, and she kept throwing this number at him, like, if you would have only been different 3 months ago. And I was like, that's interesting that she mentions more than once that 3 months is the number. And he goes, I thought so too. I go, that just tells me that she's subconsciously telling you 3 months ago she met someone. The way she was wording it. And like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Look at someone's body of work of who they've been for a long time, unless someone has a crisis in their life, like a serious illness, a lost loved one, a lost job that's a career, something that really steers them and has a paradigm shift. They're probably going to repeat history of who they are. It's like our relationship was like training wheels for whatever is next. But I mean, why isn't it training wheels? Why is it just training wheels for him and not for you? After many years single, it was nice not worrying about how to play the game of romance and just concentrate on my health and business. Well, what I would say is that if you control your health and your business, and you get to really good levels on that, you're gonna meet more quality women that are attracted to you. True, it was training wheels for me as well. It is. No relationship is wasted time. Even if it goes really bad really quick, or you feel duped, or you feel like you were with a narcissist, is it better that you were in a relationship for 2 years with some ups and downs and a bad ending than watching Netflix every night, feeding your cat, and saying that all men suck? Think about that for a moment. That don't waste my time comes from being outcome dependent. I understand the frustration people have at the end, and they might say that, but it shouldn't be an anthem. And it also should never be a declaration statement when you date. And women out there, I find it a lot. Like, I just tell them, like, don't waste my time. Well, good. Who do you think you are? Don't. If I was a guy, well, don't waste my time either, right? I would never say that. I would say, well, can we just go out to eat and see what it's like? I don't know if I want you as my girlfriend if we go out on a date. Well, you're not serious then. No, I'm smart. Regret is a powerful tool for change. I suppose it can be. I would say acceptance would be more powerful. Acceptance of a wrong move, acceptance of fucking up would be the thing that sets you free to move forward. Do you think it's likely to work out if a guy starts dating the first girl he can find that will sleep with him after a breakup if they don't have much in common? Of course not. But if the intimacy is really good, a lot of guys, women don't like to hear this, but in my experience talking to a lot of guys will stay in relationships with women they don't have a lot of common with, that they don't even like hanging out with. But if the intimacy is good and she's a nutcase, intimacy usually wins the day for a long period of time. It's like, the amount of guys that tell me, oh my, like, you're talking to them and it's just like the woman's just full of booby traps. There's all kind of bizarre shit coming on, right? That it's like, why are you putting up with this? And then it's like, wow, it's the best sex I've ever had. If there was classes on how to improve in that area for women, and I'm not saying you're good or you're bad, I would say that take those classes and you'll have more of an ability to control the relationship than you think. And that's kind of one of those things I don't like suggesting it. I'm just saying based on experience. Right? I'm just saying based on what people are telling me. The amount of guys that have you ever from the outside seen, let's look at this in a different way. So everyone has friends that are couples, or you have people you work with that are colleagues that aren't even friends, but you run across couples, let's just say, over your life, and you go, wow, why is he with her? I could tell you. Why is he with her? She's not very attractive. Or why is he with her? She's such a bitch to him. She's so rude to him. If I had to guess. Now, on the flip side, now that's not always true, but a lot of times it is, right? I mean, I've had friends before, and they're with women that are not, let's just say, not cute, to be polite, or not attractive, and they're absolutely enamored with them. We're on a boys' trip somewhere. We're going down to SoCal. We're going to hang out, and they want to go home a day early on a 3-day trip. And you're like, really? Yeah, let's go home now. Let's go home now, because they're that addicted to the pie. They're that sprung. And in the back of your head, you're like, she's not even nice to you. Right? Now, on the flip side, why does a woman stay with a guy that's a jerk? Is it for the same reason? Could be. I think a lot of times it's low self-esteem, or they've witnessed that's how they should be in a relationship. But overall, if you don't have a lot in common, if you don't have a lot in common, yeah, rebounds can work. But if someone just hooks up with someone out of a rebound and they don't have a lot in common, it's more likely than not going to work. Exactly. If I don't know you, how can I be serious? And what's really attractive when you go on a date? If someone's playful, they're authentic, they're fun, They're truthful. They're not too serious, right? It's like when someone starts declaring to you who their ex was and what they didn't like in the first date, I'm kind of like, okay. You know, my ex used to always get upset about this, or I used to, and I'm like, okay. Right? And then they start testing you with the things that that their ex used to do, and you're like, yeah, you just told me that your ex used to do that. Now you're asking me the question. I'm not stupid. It's like I remember dating a woman and her ordering a really expensive meal and then not finishing it. And she's like, do you have a problem with that? Do you have a problem with that? I'm like, no, but if you're not going to finish it, you should take it home, right? Right? It's like, I didn't tell her to do that, but I'm like, order whatever you want, you know? Oh, is that okay if I order this and then don't finish it? Because my ex used to hate that I didn't finish my food. Red flag. Is there, in my head too, I'm like, well, is he right? Are you ordering stuff that you can't, I mean, you know, if you're doing this all the time, ordering expensive food you can't finish and then not even taking it home, yeah, that's kind of annoying, kind of wasteful. Is it something that is a big deal? Is it something that you could probably work on? Yeah. Here's the thing. If you, as a woman, don't appear attached to an outcome, it's seen as disinterested. Can you elaborate, Laquita? Clutch just wrote, crazy sex is highly addictive. It's highly attractive. It's funny because women will, I probably have 50-50 or 60-40, probably 60-40 maybe men to women on coaching clients. And women will never, they'll talk about stuff about, you know, intimacy and different things, but they'll never say that, oh, the intimacy was so wonderful. That's why I was with him. That'll be in the conversation, but it won't be paramount. It won't. Because I think women feel like that's because of them. I think that they take credit for it, where the guy will give the woman credit for it, I think. Does that make sense? What's up, Sabina? It's true, though, right? What's up, Nav? What do you mean? Don't appear attached to an outcome. It's seen as disinterested. I don't know if I fully understand what you mean by that. I sure can elaborate. Sure. See, this is where I plead ignorance. I don't assume I know what you're trying to say, right? I've put a lot of work into myself. I have no problem attracting great men, okay? I do have a habit of staying on my purpose until I see a valid reason to make time for a man. So he has to prove himself to you to make time for him. I don't know if I'm going to share what Clutch said. At that point, they either become hateful or distant. I'm really just busy. This is going to be a random question, Laquita, but you already told me you're from Kansas. I don't know if it's Kansas City is the place you're in because I don't know any other cities in Kansas. Forgive me. Topeka? Topeka is the capital, right? I know all the capitals. But he has to enhance my life in some way. So what's an example of that a guy that you dated recently did? I'm curious. That's fair enough. I thought it was interesting what Nav asked a couple days ago, that she said guys that flirt with her show interest but then fall off and never ask her out. And I was just wondering, like, are you saying something like, don't waste my time? Or are you in, what's up, Deputy 547? How you living? You're a night owl, huh, bud? That's funny. Clutch says, good sex isn't hard, but a good BJ, that's a more rare thing. That's something guys will stay in a toxic element. I've been guilty of this. Probably having some avoidant type reasons to the flirting. Doing well, man. Yep, definitely right now. Definitely a night owl. Seems simple. Yes, from Kansas. Topeka is the capital. I'm in Hutchinson, expecting to be available, but at the same time, don't like women who aren't financially independent. That takes time. Expecting me to be available, but at the same time, don't like women who aren't fine. That takes time. Drop it, Deputy 547. Go ahead, bud. Laquita, I thought you were a female the whole time, but you're a man, or you're a I stayed way too long with someone because of the sex and also because we were on a lease together. Once I got my own place, I became a lot more risky with my actions since I felt I had nothing to lose. Well, just realize that's a choice, and you can stop that at any time. And risk, I don't know what this is in regards to, but it has a lot of consequences. Staying with, so I don't like women. So you're LGBT? Because it says I don't like women who aren't financially independent. I understand. A lot of people stay because of being on the lease together. That's understandable. And a lease has a finish line, right? It's like we're not happy with each other. Things aren't working out. But in July, I'm moving out because that's when the lease is up, and I'm going to get my deposit back. That's understandable. I like finish lines. It's okay. But if the relationship was, it sounds like it wasn't good in a lot of ways and it wasn't going to be long term. And I believe you told me you were 25 or 26. I'm just going to tell you the truth, hon. It's, 25, 26 is usually not the last person you're going to be with. There's a lot of growth in those years. And there's a lot of people that don't want to be with the same person the way grandma and grandpa used to be, or great grandma and great grandma used to be. Committed relationships aren't what they used to be. That's a reality. People get curious. They don't want to be sleeping with the same person forever. And a lot of time in their 20s, that's what it is. Mac, what does one do when a man who says, let's meet up? What does one do when a man who says, let's meet up, continues to flirt? I'm sorry, I lost you. Continues to flirt, and when the time to meet and you ask him, are we meeting? He says, no, because I called him gay as a joke. Why'd you call him gay? I mean, is that... Bottom line, Nav, when it comes to words and jokes, especially these days, and I think you're in India, I don't know what it's like there as far as political correctness, but some people are sensitive. Some people take things the wrong way, and I'll say if that's the way you joke around, okay, fine. Is he a little bit feminine? Is he a little bit defensive about that? I mean, if you're going to go out with someone while you're flirting to insult them, if he took it as an insult and you meant it as a joke, who's wrong, who's right? It's a miscommunication. So sometimes that happens. And you know what I would say is don't make that joke again before you go out with a guy. It's kind of a weird joke to I'd have to know in what context you meant it in. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be that sensitive about it. I don't think I've been in a situation where I'm going to date some girl and she calls me gay playfully before we go out. I don't know if that would bode a lot of confidence in our situation. Liquidity says, no, I'm female. Okay. Had a conversation with the ex. Went well. I initiated and I ended it. Then she made her relationship status public and single, maybe connected. Who reached out to who, deputy? She reached out to you or you reached out to her? You said you had a conversation. She called you, she texted you, or she kind of just nibbled? Oh, you initiated. Okay, and I ended it. Man, I honestly, if you ever get back with this woman, because I know your situation, Deputy 547. I remember everything. It's not going to be ideal, and it'll probably end in a breakup again. I'm just going to be honest with you. And I feel like you won't have as much patience. But you know what? Like you told me before, go for it. If she's single, she was receptive, the smoke is cleared, you're a different person now, you got a lot of growth, you're way different than you were, I don't know, was it a year and a half ago? I don't even know what the time frame was. 2 years? Ask her out. Ask her if she wants to go out. She says no, say okay, no problem. But you don't need too much back and forth more. I've never really declared don't waste my time, but I do think in my head only because it's frustrating when it keeps happening. Well, that'll affect your body language. That'll affect the way you act. If that's in your head, it'll come out. Body language is subliminal, but if you have that in head, it lasted about an hour, it just was like, hey, how's it going? Quick responses. Like I said, it went well. Well, an hour is a pretty long conversation. Well, your next step is to get together and hang out in person. She's single. A lot has gone on between the two of you since you've been apart. I don't see any problem in asking her out. And going on a discovery mission, going on a date. The fact that she made her relationship status public right after you talked and it was single, yeah, that's not a coincidence. No. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's ready to get with you. She's still going to... I know your situation, dude. She's going to make you work. She's not going to make it easy for you. And if you're up to that, fine. Men consistently complain about females who ask for money, yet see me as disinterested for working a lot. I mean, a lot. Well, I mean, everyone has their priorities and what comes first, and they think that everyone else should have the same priorities, and they don't. If you put money first and you work hard for it, there's going to be someone else out there that appreciates that, but it will cut into your relationship, and it definitely would cut into you building a relationship, because when you build a relationship and you first go out, it's really nice if you have extra time to build that relationship. And just know that working a lot's a choice, and you're doing it for a reason. Maybe you have kids or something like that, but it's not, to be honest with you, and this isn't against you, Laquita, but if I was dating someone and I was interested in them and it feels like they were always busy because of work, I wouldn't necessarily stop dating them because I didn't find it admirable, but I would stop dating them because I want to spend time with someone I'm into. Does that make sense? It's like, all right, you're never available. I'm not going to blame you for that. It's a choice. You're saying like, Can't you understand why I work so much? I need to make money. I like to make money. Isn't that a good thing? It's a good thing for you, but maybe the person you're dating finds it to be a bad thing that you spend your time like that. So it's always a choice. Oh, I broke up with him already. Run away from such guys that his insecurity and you hurt his feelings screaming. I don't know what that is. Nav, some men don't dig their masculinity. Some men don't dig their masculinity, joked with. Yeah, it's one of those things. It just depends on what context it was in. And obviously, guy's sensitive to it. But I mean, when people, and I'd add too, like if you don't know each other, people don't know how to take jokes. So, and by the way, usually every joke is half true. So, for you to come up with that, was it completely false that you didn't think he maybe looked a little gay? Gay is used a lot in the UK, had nothing to do with being a gay person. I only joked because he seemed fine with it, but then said it got to him, but if he would have told me that time itself, I would have stopped. So you called him it multiple times, in what context? I initiated, I texted her, I said, hey, how's it going? Hope you're well. And it went really well, dude. All right. Well, you know what it is, too, for you? Deputy 547, I keep wanting to call your name. You're in a really good place right now, so you could you can hit her up, and if she doesn't respond, you're going to be okay because you're in a good place as an individual right now. You're not going to be beside yourself. So I don't have a problem with that. I just find it interesting she changed to public about being single after our talk when I didn't carry the conversation. I was just like, well, it was great catching up. Glad you're doing it. I don't find it coincidental. I think that she wanted to make it apparent. If you want to catch up sometime, let me know. Absolutely. There you go. Yeah, avoidance don't usually do the heavy lifting, which is why I was like, fuck it. Worst case scenario, I'm the same spot as before. I don't, me, I don't do the avoidance and all that other thing. I'm just saying, like, I know your situation, and if you get back into this, she's going to make you, she's not going to make it easy for you, but she'll entertain it. And she's, dare I use the word moody? And she can get set off easily. She's got a wick on her as far as, and I said that with a W. She's got a wick on her that, she's prone to go off on you for something you're like, what? And Deputy 547, there's a lot of guys like this that when someone goes off on them, they have to explain themselves. So it's one of the and maybe it's one of these fearful avoidance or one of those things that from the theory you follow. But if you're it's not a good mix for someone like you because they know what button to push where you start explaining yourself and backpedaling, and then you're all in their frame, and you can't help yourself from saying, you know what, it's up to you if you think that about me, or that's just not true. She's going to drop something about how well you're doing with money or something like that, and you're going to, I don't think you guys were a good couple towards the end, and I don't think the direction you're going in right now that she would help you grow where you want to go. Now, if you want to entertain that and go out with her, then just ask her direct and tear the Band-Aid off. Just go, hey, let's get together. But the last few times, like I said, she's just... If someone wants to see you, right, and you revisit things and you got an hour conversation, then they peel off the privacy and they're single again, and then you ask her out and she's difficult about it, don't entertain it any longer, right? If someone's interested, they should be... I think Judy Jack Burton, they used to come on live streams a lot. One of the simplest statements she ever made, she said, look, if we really like you as a woman, we'll make it easy. Now, what does that mean? I know Clutch has got a dirty mind, but just there's not going to be a lot of turbulence. Like if you say, hey, I want to go out this weekend, and she's busy, she'll go, oh, I can't go this Saturday, but maybe can we go next weekend? That would be something like that. They're receptively interested. And I think that this woman this ex that you have, even if she was interested, like I said, there's something vindictive and something about her that wants to make it not easy for you. And I'm not sure, with the success you've had with your Instagram and your coaching, is she happy for you? Is she really happy for you? Or is she making like snide comments? Oh, I'm giving it time. It was a few days ago, giving her time to make a move. So you're going to wait for her to make a move. Okay. Building a character from someone who demands perfection will result in resentment. Don't sell someone on their ideal candidate if it's inauthentic with who you are. Well put. Well fucking put. Stamp that on an Instagram post. I like that. Quote that. Building a character from someone who demands perfection will result in resentment. Or not even perfection, or demands conformity would be another way to put it. Like, this is what I like. What's perfection, Marcos? He's probably more of an anxious type, and you're probably more of a avoidant, I'd say. Attachment style guys on there. You know what? For those attachment theories, I'm probably different ones for different situations. Because I'm very good at improvising, and I'm very interactive with a lot of different people. Yeah, man, I told you I'm good. I'd love to meet up with her and see, But if it doesn't work, I'm good. I know you're good. But this is the thing with people that have treacherous families. I remember everything. I remember the hairdresser sister, the father. I remember the whole story. I'm not going to go into it right now because you're going to be like, what? How'd you remember that? I don't have a photographic memory. I have an audio-based memory from the live coaching sessions. And it sucks, but family interactions count, man. And that whole situation that you told me, all the ins and outs, the nooks and crannies of that situation, if you're good right now, stay in your lane, punch it into gear, and keep moving. I don't think this would be a good move for you. Dude, she opened up about the stuff she's been through recently, including a car wreck, so I'm giving her space. Oh, she's definitely a fearful avoidant. I don't do all the explaining stuff anymore. There you go. I don't know that term for how it works, the fearful avoidant, but I know that, man, I had this other client right now. He's great guy, man. Great guy. Always ends up explaining himself 10,000 times and pleading his case. And he just finally got out of this relationship where I was like, dude, you need to end this now. She's going to drive you nuts. And he just recently disclosed to me, he said, you're right. You're right. And the stuff that came up was just bizarre, man. It's just booby traps everywhere. That's what I call it. A woman will just set up booby traps. And you just walk right into them. Instead of when you get out of the booby trap, afterwards you try to explain, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I walked into that trap you set up for me. I should have known. No, it was a booby trap. It was meant to hurt you. Last time we had a bad reaction, I didn't even give it an answer. Good. Mm-hmm. Maybe her opening up about her stuff she's gone through was actually her wanting comfort from you, not space. I don't know. Just my guess. As a woman, what I would want. Well, that's a fair take, FP. FPO, I was pretty sympathetic, but when the conversation started falling off, I politely exited. Nice move. You've grown a lot. Hey, don't be throwing me under the bus due to the Freudian slips. You ever think about doing stand-up, Clutch? That's always been on my list, man. Yeah, I'm not picking up that same vibe, man. She's just not that way, honestly. Okay. Nah, I'm giving her some space to make a move. And if she doesn't, I'll reach out again in a few days or a week. We'll see. Okay. Like I said last time I was on here, we need to have a phone call sometime. Me and you, or her and you? A fearful avoidant is someone who wants love and connection, but because something like abuse, they're afraid of it as well. So start off like an anxious, but can turn avoidant when triggered. Got it. You know what you guys will find really interesting about the attachment issue thing? Oh, we'll get another one. For sure. It's been a while, actually. It would be good to catch up. For sure. It would be really good to catch up. Really? I'm really good at telling stories. I've always wanted to do it, especially since being a teacher. It's on my list. Yeah, you're quick, Clutch. I'm the same way. I'm quick. I call it you process quick. You ever think about that? You process quick. Like, I don't even know when I'm with my buddies from high school or something like that, the reactionary of saying something that's funny or on point is very quick. It's like when I talk to someone in a live coaching sometimes, and if they talk slow, people from the UK tend to talk slower. Sometimes I got to watch myself because I'll talk quick. I'll cut you off, and they'll be like, no, I wasn't finished. But yeah, you have that. You process really, really quick. But here's something interesting about the attachment theories. You guys will find this funny. So Jordan Peterson's daughter does a podcast. What's her name? Michaela, I think. No nepotism or anything there. And she had on Robert Greene. So if you don't know who Robert Greene is, he's a author of 48 Laws of Power, Mastery. He's just a legendary author in my book, nonfiction books. You could call it self-improvement, but that would cheapen his work. He's a great author, great books. Very intelligent guy. But he wrote the book, The 33 Laws of Seduction, something like that. I have the book. And I never really liked the book that much. I've liked other books of his. And he created categories of people that seduce. And one of them's like the dandy, the siren. And so Michaela Peterson's like, oh, who am I? What am I? This is my point. He created these categories and these things. He just created them. But she was kind of like, it's almost like, oh, these are real. No, he came up with a theory that and categorized 8 different things that people could be in the seducing world. And when I looked at it, I'm like, and he was like, well, I'm a rake. And I'm thinking to myself, okay. And so he describes the rake as someone that's basically really good with women, is never satisfied with women, is always having women fall in love with him, but moving on. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't think Robert Greene was a rake. But he created these categories. He created them. And she was like, what am I? What am I? And he was like, well, I'd have to get to know you better. And then he, goes, well, I think you might be a siren, which is the same as Marilyn Monroe. And I'm just like cringing, right? It's like people like to be in a category. They like to be in a box. But the reality is like probably at some point in your life, you've probably been multiple things on his spectrum. Now, it is quite possible that you fit into one of these things really neatly. And I don't have a problem if you like to use them. I don't like to use labels because if I label you, right? Let me give you a really clear-cut example of this. I'm taking this course on hypnotherapy. I'm training to be a clinical hypnotherapist. Okay, this is going to take me a little bit of time, but it's going to be well worth it. Really good school. I've already learned a lot from the first module, online module. Really good. And we were doing this practice, and she was teaching us this thing that would be done for neuro-linguistic programming, NLP. I won't go deep into what the thing is. And she goes, a lot of people don't like this one that are right-brained. Now, in my head, I've heard this term before, like right-brained, but I didn't remember what it was. But the practice that we were doing was a little bit difficult in the sense that you had to use your fingers and memory and different things like that. And guess what? All the people in my group immediately went, oh, this one's difficult for me. I'm right-brained. So she planted the seed that if it's difficult for you, you're probably a right-brained person, and therefore gave everyone an out for why they couldn't do it, myself included. And I thought to myself, wow, see what I mean? So if she would have just said, hey, this might be a little bit of a challenge, you might have to try this more than once. But by her giving you a category to fall under, a quote-unquote right brain, which I kind of forgot what being right-brained is. I'm sure Clutch knows. And then she explained afterwards, everyone used that as like, oh, this is why I can't do this practice. You see what I'm saying? So when someone puts a label, even if it's something that's psychological, you're allowing someone to go, oh, because I'm this, that's why I act like this. I process quick, dirty mind, activate. I see what you're saying, FB. I see what you're saying, but let's FB say. It's easier to discuss these things over phone call than chit chat. Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely talk. And right now I have the time. I just finished school, so just finished teaching. I see what you're saying. People do love to be categorized. Like I said, if I pulled up this video, she was absolutely intrigued trying to find out what kind of seducer she was. And I'm thinking, and he goes, well, actually, you might be this. And she's like, oh, I'm the siren. Oh, I'm the dandy. Oh, I'm this. And it's like, this stuff was just made up. It was just made up. It's like a fictional thing. There's no facts to it. I mean, we could create, I'm strongly thinking about creating a book with my own categories. I have another question. My ex always wanted to move to Canada. Great country. One of the reasons he broke up because he didn't want to live in India. But my student visa at the time was refused. Now that I got hired in Canada as a veterinarian nurse, very cool. And he knows that he has been rereading all my old emails to him. If he comes back, I don't want him. How do I deal with that situation? Well, I don't understand. You do want him or you don't want him? He didn't. If that was the problem, so I have another question. My ex always wanted me to move to Canada. One of the reasons he broke up with me because he didn't want to live in India. Now I got hired in Canada as a veterinary nurse. Congratulations. Great country, great people. Stay away from Ottawa. and he knows that he has been rereading my old emails to him. How does he know you're rereading your old emails to him? If he comes back and I don't want him, how do I deal with the situation? You're anticipating that you don't want him and how to deal with it. Why don't you just re-meet up now that the problem is gone, and see if you guys can revisit things now that you both can live in Canada? I mean, you're anticipating the worst rather than starting from ground zero and seeing where it goes. Pestering is a form of flattery, Mr. Mac. Yeah. Oh, no. I play a true or false game with people sometimes, and I'm usually right. The labels just give my clients a place to start. I've told you before, bud. I've told Clutch before. I don't have a problem with people using it. I just don't use it, so I'm clarifying why I don't. If someone else, it works for them, more power to you. As long as you got good intentions, you're trying to help people, cool. Green had some theories, but theories are already evolving. And I'm not saying, Laquita, that I like Robert Greene a lot. The Seduction book I didn't find to be one of his best works, but it's creative as hell. But as far as it holding any substance, like I said, the problem with that is someone goes, "Oh, I'm this kind of seductress person," and then they try to play that role even more. Labeling theory, wow. Right brain being used as a disability. It's not as a disability. It's just more or less that the exercise that we were doing, she was saying that right brain people have more trouble with it. And the 3 people in my group were like, "Oh, I can't do this because I'm right brained." That wouldn't have been an out had she not suggested that, right? You know what I'm saying? She lined it up. So then myself included, we all had an excuse to not do well on this. And then afterwards, I'm like, I don't even know what right-brained means exactly when she says that. If you don't want him, yeah, FP says he is reading chromosomes extension called an email tracker that lets you know the person read them and every time they open it. Oh, goodness. Well, if you don't want him, yeah, like why are you reading his emails? And if you're moving to Canada, start fresh. Congratulations. And, you know, if that was your ex and you don't want them back, I find it suspect that you'd even bring up that question if you didn't have interest, unless you're somehow wanting to rub it into him that you're now moving to Canada. Is that what it is? You want him to kind of find out on his own that, yeah, I'm moving there, but ha, 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 you won't be going with me kind of a thing because he hurt you before. Now you kind of get a kick out of being able to hurt him. The thing about with getting back with exes, you shouldn't want to go back to how it was. It didn't work. It's starting something brand new. Yeah, in most cases. In some cases, that's why when you tell me your story, I'll be like, oh, you can, you know, a lot was good here, and there's certain cases where you could revisit it quite soon. But in most cases where you're in no contact or it was really bad, you just need time. It's like, look at your situation, Deputy. You needed a lot of time away because it was traumatic for you what happened in those last couple weeks. I agree with you about green. Labels are easy out, but if someone wants to put it into a square peg, let them fit in. It's rare to break out of your label. I just found it's one of those things, like if I had a reactionary video to show you this, she was just doting. Like, which one am I? Which one? She wasn't trying to be authentic. It was like, ooh, this is neat. This is fun. And like I said, he's like comparing her to the Siren, which is Marilyn Monroe, which is, these are the most attractive ones. Of course, it was flattering to her, right? And he's like, I'd have to get to know you more. Just got to be honest. Hey, I hope you're well. What is this? I appreciate the time we had together, but this is not what I'm looking for any longer. Take care. Something like that. Yeah, Nav, I think you want him to find out that you're moving to Canada. Let me just guess here, and sometimes guesses can be wrong. You want him to find out you moved to Canada so you can go ha ha ha, or look where I'm going, and maybe he approaches you or wants to talk to you again, and then you can reject him, and that would make you feel good because things ended badly. And I'm guessing they ended badly for you, not him. That's it. I'm going to book a coaching just to discuss green. Great. I think actually my favorite Robert Greene book is Mastery. Mastery is highly underrated. Actually, anyone that's starting a new career, I wish I would have read Deep Work, Cal Newport, and Mastery by Robert Greene. Those are two books that I think should be required reading for people about 18 to 20 years old. When I talk about my own personal journey, I say I was leaning way more anxious. But nowadays, I lean more secure. After doing the work, it's all about self-love, self-awareness, and growth. Well, I'm happy for you, bud. But it's ever-changing, right? There can be situations where you could probably be anxious, correct? I mean, you can be the most secure you've ever been in your life, and you become anxious. See, Laquita, that's why you like my show. Top 5 books for Green or top 5 books, period? I don't know what my top 5 books, period, would be right now. I've kind of taken a real break from anything self-improvement because it's just overlapping. True, he did hurt me. Well, people want you to feel what they feel, and you want him to feel what you feel. Honestly, it would be fun to rub it in. See right there? You had me at honestly. I've got clients that do this all the time. Hey, to tell you the truth, can I be honest with you? Yep, that's what you paid me for. I'm not judging you. Honestly, be fun to rub it in, but he already knows it, and that's why he will come back, because he wants to go. And you want the ability to tell him, yeah, I'm going, but I'm not taking you with me. If this was a good guy or a good relationship or someone you saw yourself with long term, it's not about whether you feel anxious or not. It's patterns that people fall into, how they tend to handle things. Okay. So I'm anxious is the love addict, the fear abandonment, the clingy, the over-texter. I've definitely never been that one. There are numerous reasons I like your show. Top 5 overall, I'm into quantum physics right now, and it's a struggle. Me too. I'm into quantum physics right now too, yeah. I'm this hypnotherapy course I'm taking right now, it's probably one of the coolest things I've taken, where like it's, I've been in college courses. I got a bachelor's degree. I probably took more courses than I needed to be a bachelor degree. I had more units than I needed. But man, this is one of the first courses where I'm like, this is great. We're doing all kinds of stuff. Oh my goodness, Daniel Calamare, how you doing? The Texas native, I believe. It's been a while. What's the quantum physics book that you like right now? Actually, we have a quantum physics book for required reading for this module I'm doing next week. I guess you probably like Joe Dispenza then. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton. The thing is now that they're starting to overlap a lot of stuff. Dean Radin. It's like if you read one of their books, there's only so much cool information you can get from it. You all right, Daniel? What's new? Are you in Texas? Austin? Where were you at? I think. I'm playing with astro projection. I hold a master's in applied sociology. Cool, man. Yeah, if you want to try hypnosis, I've become pretty good at it. You want to try hypnosis and some emotional freedom technique if you have any limited beliefs, I can help you with that beyond just breakups. The dismissive is more, I don't need this. Masters of also known as disorganized, fearful. They are, I don't need anyone, but when they do, they're all like an anxious, but they're also waiting for the foot to drop when they perceive that. Okay. North Carolina, P.D. Pablo, home of the great Jordan. Yeah, I remember you were in Texas. At one point, I did, but he dropped me saying he can't live in India, and since he is unable to get a visa, I am too. He was ready to get arranged married to someone already in Canada. Well, I mean, was he a good partner? Was he a good boyfriend? I mean, now that the tables have turned, are you willing to is it just all bets off? Veterinarian nurse. I believe Sabina's in the veterinarian field. Just want to commend you on doing something helpful and useful to pets and animals. That's really cool. I'll tell you what part of Canada are you going to be in? You're going to open up a whole nother playing field for yourself. Carlo Ravel, I think I have worked through my limited beliefs, but I might see how much farther I could go. Well, if you've never been hypnotized before, I haven't had a bad session with that yet. Everyone I've done it with is like, when they wake up out of it, they're like, that was good. That was really good. I don't know who Carlo Ravel is. How do you have such a great memory? Can you forget things such as you remember? You know what's interesting about that? I just realized from this course I was taking this weekend, and I should have known this a long time ago, especially being a teacher for years. University Pipe's done a live coaching and done a hypnosis with me, and I took him to Denmark. So it's almost like a guided meditation. I should say guided meditation because that's, people don't like the term hypnosis for some reason. They think that they're going to get reprogrammed in a bad way. But back to the memory thing. I've always had a good memory since I was a little kid. A really good memory. And a lot of it, this is going to sound weird. I think a lot of it is that, number one, this is going to sound, I believe I have a good memory. I say it all the time. I reinforce it in my subconscious. Okay? And then I display it. I get credit for it, right? I don't overthink, like, who's Daniel? I just instantly know. Daniel Calamare, I remember that. He was in Texas, this and that, this and that. I had you confused with someone else. Though in my head I thought San Diego for a minute. Like you were in San Diego before, but I can't remember. That threw me off. Because I had you, but then I remember you said you were in Texas. And you were in your early 20s, I believe. I remember. From live coaching sessions, from classes, I'm an extreme audio learner. So there's people that are visual, which most of the most of the world, from what my course teacher said, is visual. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I'm highly audio. So I do remember when I talk or I interact with someone. But I started out getting a really good memory. And if you wonder, this is a really good question. I'm glad you asked, Daniel. If you wonder where you get some of your talents or some of the things that you're good at and some of the things you're bad at, there's always a root. And so when I was a little kid, a long time ago, my grandfather was always into sports. And I was too. And my grandfather, there used to be in the San Francisco Chronicle, San Francisco Chronicle used to have something called the Sporting Green. And this was a sports page. And my grandfather, I was like 4 or 5 years old, I remember him saying, like, you always want to read the Sporting Green first. And my grandfather used to read 2 newspapers beginning to end. My father used to read 2 newspapers beginning to end. Like, he'd sit in his chair and read his paper. And I'd always grab the sports page, and I would read box scores, and I would just remember things, and then I would, bring it up to adults, and they'd be like, wow, this guy really knows his sports. So I would get credit, I would get attention for it. And so, but looking back, even when I was in like 2nd grade, remembering things, like I remembered all the, like the 50 states, I know a lot of their capitals. Like when I said Kansas, Topeka, I don't know why. It's like Rain Man. Definitely Topeka, right? But especially in live coaching sessions, I don't take any notes. And University Pipe, who's been a client over the years, knows I remember everything. And it'll just come to me. But I think one of the reasons is, and this is, like I said, I just believe. I already know that I have a good memory. So I think we have access to our memory. But if you ever put it in your head like, oh, my memory, shit. I have a friend his memory was horrible. And you know what he'd go? Oh, my memory, shit. Just reaffirms it. You're actually giving your brain and your mind directions on what's true and what's not true. That's why hypnotherapy is so powerful. Does that make sense? Like whenever you hear someone say, like, when I say I have a great memory, I have a really good memory. And I mean it. I know it. Totally different than, oh, sometimes I remember things okay. This is like the placebo effect. Fell asleep. You didn't miss anything. Don't worry. I'm very good with names too. If we have an interaction and I talk to you I'll remember your name, I'll remember where you're from. And part of it, I also think, Daniel, is that I had a lot of, since I was 16, I was just going through this. I've had like 6 or 7 different jobs. Worked retail, which if Clutch is still on, you just work with a lot of different people, interact a lot. That might be a part of it. But I would say believing or knowing that you have a good, and valuing it will increase your memory. He was verbally abusive. He had anger issues. He had really bad relations with his father. They live under the same roof and don't talk to each other. All those reasons, run, don't walk. Congratulations on going to Canada. Quit checking the old emails. Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring. His father is an alcoholic and abuses him, and his mom, and the worst part is he has that time to quit alcohol, but he had the same anger and was abusive. So that's why he wants to leave for Canada. He wants to escape that, but unfortunately, unless he gets therapy or hypnotherapy or emotional freedom techniques, some things I work with, these things are going to bubble up in future relationships. So just be thankful you're not in a relationship. And I have a lot of compassion. My dad's about alcoholic, highly verbal, abusive with my mom. They're actually still together. My dad's overcome a lot, but it's difficult. And you're not going to be the one to turn him around. So move on. Stop checking the emails. I also remember everything. Great minds think alike. He blamed him being. How you doing these days, though, Daniel? It's been a while. You know what's funny about the memory, too? I don't know if it transferred over into school, but when I was in college, I was just telling someone this recently. I didn't really care about getting A's, but I think I was probably more capable than I think. It just didn't interest me. My father, when I was in high school, would always tell me, just make sure you get C's. And guess what? When I was in high school, I got C's. And when I was in middle school, I got straight A's. It's funny. That's when people can... your limitations are based on your expectations or what you think your abilities are. It's like when someone asked me, being a teacher, how does someone become such a good A student? Effort, belief that they're an A student, and they're getting something from it. He blamed him being grumpy and snappy on his bad back. He has slipped disc to the point where he isn't allowed to even hold a newborn baby. He has been told he has a chance of getting paralyzed away. So I'm sorry to hear that. Damn, that's deep. I'm sorry to hear that, Nav. There's nothing. Langley, British Columbia, BC. I've actually been to Victoria, which I think is part of British Columbia. Beautiful place. Victoria is absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Good for you. You'll meet someone there. I never cared either and went through 8 years of college on a 3.5 scholarship. Good for you. I think you ready for this? I graduated college with a 2.99. Been good. Got an internship out in Dallas and Chicago. Bears. I'm back at my parents' in North Carolina on a job hunt. Took a sales job and learned proper communication. A good book probably for you if you want to just get if you're getting into sales would be, a nice base book would be Influence by James. I believe it's James Caldini. That's a classic, real classic. How to Win Friends and Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People is a classic, but I thought it was redundant for me because I thought I got book notes on my website too for that James Caldini book. Here you go. Hold on a sec. But yeah, Daniel, if you want to get a coaching session that's not about your breakup but talk about your sales job, or where you're at right now, let's do it, man. I've had a really good rapport with some, being that I've taught university before, people in their 20s starting their careers out, and now being in it 3 years, they're starting to come back to me every few months, and it's been really good. It's really good. Being that I'm 40, I'm not too old, but I'm old enough to respect the wisdom, I think. Where'd you go to school, Laquita? What'd you get your degree in? It's funny, I just got a history degree. Everyone was like, "What are you gonna get a history degree? Teach?" It's funny because right now, I mean, being a teacher for years, one of the things that if you ask me what I didn't like about teaching was giving people points. I'm one of those. I'd rather give everyone a B or an A. I don't want to be a ball buster or a hard ass on grades. I mean, I worked with other teachers that really get their rocks off on failing people. Never been my thing. I'd be like, you gotta do something really bad in my class to get a D or to fail. I think over 11 years, I think I've failed maybe 5 people because they didn't show up. But this course I'm taking right now, it's great. She was saying, like, we had a couple homework things, and she was like, this isn't going to be judged on points. And I was like, this thing's meant for me. I took a break with dating and relationships and took my education and friendships to the next level. Good for you, man. Maybe you're just, this is actually when you do that, Daniel, it's kind of counterintuitive, but this is the time you'll probably meet someone. Oh, I don't feel old. I don't feel old. I don't look old, but my wisdom's there. CSU Puebla. Where is that? That's I've never heard of that. Cal State University, Puebla? Hospital administration, applied sociology. I've split life between facilities management and case management for nonprofits. Wow. Well, that's impressive, Laquita. Those are big words. A quarter life crisis. Get the fuck out of here. Oh my God. We got to get a book a live coaching session, Daniel. I'll help you through it. If you've been single for 3 years and you're 25 years old, there might be some roadblocks from something that happened to you in childhood, or something that there's some kind of root to that that's deeper than you think. There's something deeper. There's something deeper. There's something deeper to that. There's a roadblock there. You got to get to the bottom of that. You got to get through that with questions and whatnot. Quarter life crisis. That's too much, man. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called Saturn's Return. That's an interesting one. Book it, my friend. Let's do it. I'll help you. If I don't help you, I'll give you your money back. I always stand by that. Especially if you're 23 right now, do some hypnosis and you're starting a new job. Moving back with your parents is not bad. You've been out on your own, dude. Quarter life crisis is weird. I don't remember. I didn't have one. I had at 28 out of a breakup, and this is probably a big reason I help people with their breakups now. That was probably and people told me it was Saturn's return. Saturn's return is, they say when you're 28, that's when you become an official adult. It has to do with astrology, and you can look it up. I mean, I'm not going to explain it to you right now, but if you're not where you want to be, your life will be upside down, because people were like, you're 28, it's Saturn's return. I was like, I never heard of that shit. But a lot of people have turning points at 27, 28. There's a 27-year-old club of famous musicians that passed away. So it's between 27 and 29, but 28's a sweet spot. Sorry, I just hit the mic. Saves a lot of money living with parents. Indians rarely ever move out. Yeah, I know that. That's a cultural thing. It's a cultural thing. To be honest, the stories and the concerns I get from Indian people, a lot of them, they just can't shed their parents' ability to tell them what to do. That's why a lot of famous people pass away at 27. I don't know if that's true. I mean, you can connect those dots yourself and look up Saturn's return. But what I would say, if you're 23 and you don't have a lot of debt, I remember someone telling you zero is a good place to start at. Sometimes people go, I'm broke. Are you at zero or are you negative 10,000? I'm always where I want to be, but never where I hope to be. If you have no debt, that's a great place to start at 23. That's beautiful. You don't have to dig yourself out of a hole. There's a positive right there, my friend. This idea, though, that you've been on a three-year break from relationships, like there's some barrier there. And I don't mean it like, oh, you're not good with women. You're not. There could be something else. That's an interesting statement, Laquita. Why aren't you capable of being where you hope to be? And yes, cultural, not just Indian. I don't have a problem with people living at home for a little while, but you do need to get out eventually. You don't want to make it long term where you just never grow up. The other part to that is, depending on how overbearing your parents are, I don't have that experience. I've had some ins and outs with my parents. My dad's an asshole when I was young, bad alcoholic off and on. I've definitely had some issues, and I'm not competing for who had worse. Well, I had this happen, I have that. Everyone's got their shit, okay? But the reality is, when you become an adult, you've got choices. And you've got more choices than you think. Well, there you go, hon. My parents are in 60s. You're from Oman originally, right? You're not Indian, though. My parents are in their 60s with chronic illness. You're 26 years old, if I remember correctly. You're single. This is a fucking outstanding move for you, hon. Moving to British Columbia, a veterinarian nurse, and then you're going to become a veterinarian eventually. Good for you. And you have the goal to give them a better life and eventually have them move in with you. Great. And I always say, living in Thailand and students asking me where they would go, I'd say go to Canada or New Zealand or Australia. Those are probably the three ones. And Canada is very friendly to people that they have a really low birth rate, so they want you over there. As soon as I get what I want another experience, not to the extent of pining for something, but to look beyond. I think that's common with a lot of people. It's just like the idea that people go, I just want to be happy. Well, good luck with that. Happiness is fleeting. Without the sour, you can't have the sweet. And without bad experiences, you won't know what happiness is. I'm Indian, but my dad had moved from India to Oman in the 80s, so I was born in Oman. Interesting. I don't know a whole lot about Oman. I did meet a guy that was in the Air Force in Canada and lived in Oman because of that. So I don't know if there's an Air Force base there or something. Definitely book it, Daniel. And Laquita, if you got the extra funds or whatever, book a session. Let's do some hypnosis. Let's talk about this thing. This is what I'm gonna. I'm moving towards. I like dealing. I'll tell you why I like dealing with breakups. Is because it's a turning point. It's a crossroads where if you do want to make a shift in your life, you can. Well, if fulfillment is lacking, then here's what I would say. I look at it like this, Laquita Foley. Not related to Axel Foley, right? It's like life has these buckets. Okay, let's look at the buckets. Let's say, and you could change the buckets. Let's say finances is one bucket. Spiritual or religion is one bucket. Health and fitness is one bucket. Relationship, intimate relationship is one bucket. Family and camaraderie is another bucket. Let's just stop there, but maybe you can have more buckets. Now, have you ever met or know of someone that's a billionaire? I don't know, but I don't know a billionaire directly, but I know people that are like insane millionaires. They're not good friends of mine or anything like that, but I've interacted with them. And in my head, I'm like, they're always talking about money. They're always talking about business. They're expending a lot of money. And in my head, I'm like, when do you want to stop and just enjoy your money and live by the beach and take it easy? Because that's what I would do probably. I'd still have my podcast or I'd do these things. Right? But the reality is they want to keep making money because that bucket for finances has holes in it. So they could make $50 million and never feel like they made enough. And that usually stems from they were poor when they were young, so they never want to be poor again. So they're always feeling like it's not enough. Or they were really rich when they were young, and someone taught them to just continue to make money at an alarming pace. Now, what area are you not fulfilled in? So if I asked you about those buckets, you'd probably be like, oh, I'm pretty fulfilled in finances. I'm pretty fulfilled in my job, but I'm not fulfilled in my relationships. So you'd have to pick the category or the area that you're not fulfilled in. And then you have to ask yourself, why? What is that linked to? That's linked to something. Sanchez, okay. Coming up on 3 hours today. And you know what's crazy? I started this live stream and I was thinking to myself, there was only 4 or 5 people on for, I don't know, 30 minutes. I thought I might have to cut this one short today. I got a live coaching in an hour and a half, so I am going to have to go pretty soon and get my lunch. Any closing questions here? We've had a nice little marathon run here. Especially for those people in the States, man. This is late. I'm Indian, but okay, so Oman is great, but they don't give you citizenship for being born there. My dad worked 35 years until he was asked to leave because of his age. I'm dead pleased and happy for you that you get a move. 3:30 a.m., Daniel? Damn. Yeah, I'm still in Thailand. I'm in Phuket. I'm planning on moving back for an extended period of time, not for the rest of my life, but probably for at least 6 months. And I'll be moving back to my parents' house, but I might stay with some other people for a little bit, but it'll be good. And I'm going to get a clinical hypnotherapy certification. It's going to take me about 400 hours. And I'm taking this course right now. I might do a Reiki. I might do a couple other courses while I'm there. These courses can be done online, but it's a nice segue. So my times will be different probably on the live streams. And my availability on coaching will be a little different. So, but I'm looking forward to going back for a little bit. Been 2 years since I've been in Cali. But if I were you, Daniel, I'd consider, if you're in your early 20s, man, you want a little segue, come over here and teach or do something before you get started in your sales career. All right, folks, I'm going to give it a few more minutes. If you got any closing questions, let me know. Anything else you want to ask? This has been good. Some oldies but some goodies came on today. Here, I know what I'm going to do here. Daniel, go ahead and take that if you want. It's my book notes on my website. Some of those book notes are from Derek Sivers' site, but I've given him credit for it. But they're great books and influences in those books. So if you're going to get into a sales thing, I would highly recommend taking that as an initial book that you take a look at, bud. Deep Work by Cal Newport's another book if you're getting into a new career that you might want to take a look at. And this little gem that Laquita likes. I picked up the sales gig from a friend. I'm in tech, but I needed funds ASAP and picked up sales. I had my shares of failures in sales through, not going to lie. I'll tell you what, man, if you're into tech and all those other things, I would educate yourself on crypto. This isn't my channel to do that, but I know a lot of people are apprehensive about that and on the sidelines, but I would definitely educate yourself about that. All right, this live stream seems to be waning a bit. Just be true to yourself, but on the sales gig. If sales is not for you, you're a tech person, stay true to yourself. You got to do it for a little while, no problem. But if you feel icky about it, it's not your thing. If you got zero debt, then you got room to do what you want, bud. So, right now, another really good thing to do when you're young, bud, is an ikigai. You can Google that. I won't elaborate. It's a Japanese thing about finding who you are and what you are, which is 4 basic questions. I would say go Google ikigai, and find out what you're good at, what you can serve the world with, and what people pay you for. Those are really good questions to explore. It's one of the ways that I came up with what I'm doing. And don't discount helping people. And if you're in sales, just make sure you're selling something you would buy. Does that make sense? If an ex come back and shows interest, would you ignore the past relationship unless they want a serious situation? If an ex comes back and shows interest, is it possible to ignore the past relationship? It would depend on what they did and how they acted. So, it's not, you can't just ignore a past relationship with amnesia. You know what I mean? So, if what they did in the past is not ignorable, then unless they want a serious relationship, you know this person better than I do. So you know what they're looking for. You know what they're scavenging around for. So be true to yourself and trust your intuition because you know this person. This isn't a random. And if you want a serious situation and they want to be friends with benefits, then don't do it. Take care, DC. Any time in my life, if an ex came back or out of the blue, it's like, number one, it's kind of a flattering thing. Number two, where are you at right now? What's your timing and your circumstances like? And is it line up with them? If you know them, even if they changed a little bit, you have a background on them. That's what the human brain is for. It collects data to make better decisions in the future. When you meet someone for the first time, you don't have any of that data. All right, folks, it's been good. It's been grand. I really appreciate it. This has been a 3-hour marathon here. Thanks for sleeping on it, Skinner. I'll be back on deck soon. I'm congratulate you on the Bulls a second time because they look damn good. They put together a ball club, a real team. Daniel, it was good to catch up. Laquita, thanks for riding the whole 3 hours, I believe. Nav, congratulations on moving to Canada and being a veterinarian nurse. I'm really happy for you. Not only because you get to move to Canada, but you're doing a job that's helping tiny creatures, which is admirable. Let go of the email thing with that guy. It's not going to serve you in any way. It's just going to entangle you into something negative. And it sounds pretty negative. FP, Clutch, I believe you're off by now. Deputy 547. Sabina came in for a peekaboo. FP. Yep. If any of you want to try hypnotherapy or book a live coaching session, the link, I believe, is in the comment section. If not, all good. It's curtains.